Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand, available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple Television, Android TV, and Amazon Fire Television, plus YouTube and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. It's 8 p.m. and we are live, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community coming from South Florida, representing America and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see and hear it.
Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio model of PBS and NPR, but for our LGBTQ+ community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Let's welcome anchor Sobourney Barnes. Sobourney is a South Florida native who has been an activist and leader in the LGBTQIA+ community for a decade. An original committee member of the Caribbean Pride Festival, Sobourney has been involved with various community partners such as Aqua Foundation and the Stonewall Museum and Archives. She is currently the Fed Club co-chair for the Human Rights Campaign South Florida and the vendor coordinator for Pride Feet, a grassroots event of the Caribbean community, queer Caribbean community. Welcome, Sobourney.
Thank you, Al. You know I'm gonna get you. It's Pride Fete.
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 Pride Fete.
It's a fete. It's a party. That's what it is.
Party.
Yes. But for anyone who's interested, please remember Pride Fete is happening on August 13th, 2022 at Richardson Historic Park. Anyone interested in more information or becoming a vendor, please look at our website and reach out on www.pridefete.lgbt. Now let's welcome anchor Jeff Oliverio. He is a founding member and treasurer of the Hollywood LGBTQ+ Council, a unique community civic organization designed to unite the LGBTQ+ community in Greater Hollywood. The council will be hosting the second annual My Hollywood Pride on January 22nd, 2023. He is also the chair for the 2022 National LGBTQ Task Force Gala, being held on October 22nd in Miami Beach. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening. Excited to finally get to announce our national honoree for the gala this year. Was going to be Jonathan Capehart from MSNBC.
Awesome.
So if you're looking for more information, go to taskforcegala.org for information about tickets, sponsorships, and learning more about our Queer the Vote campaign that we're supporting this year. Now, let's welcome anchor Christian C.J. Walden. He is the vice president of PRISM Florida Board of Directors, a writer at the South Florida Gay News, and a freelance photographer. Their motto is, "I cannot sit idly by while people of color and the LGBTQ+ community face exacerbated discrimination." Good evening, CJ.
Thank you. And everyone, make sure you follow PRISM at prism.fl on Instagram. We have some big events coming up. Stay tuned. Let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of 8 books, including his latest Fear of Muses, an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and music reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ+ and mainstream publications and websites. His movie review column called Screensaver can be found in South Florida Gay News, San Francisco's Bay Area Reporter, RottenTomatoes.com, and more. Good evening, Greg.
Good evening, y'all. So happy to be here. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines for Tuesday, July 19th.
Well, let's queer up LGBTQ plus civil rights. What's next as gay marriage comes close to passage of the House while Senate passage is in doubt? In 1996, the Clinton administration passed the Defense of Marriage Act, defining marriage as between a man and a woman. In 2015, the Supreme Court, Obergefell versus Hodges ruling declared that the law was unconstitutional and allowed for same-sex marriages. With the overturning of Roe v. Wade and Justice Thomas declaring that other rulings would be following, same-sex marriage is now at risk. The House Democrats have already taken action, drafting the Respect for Marriage Act. This law would repeal the Defense of Marriage Act and amend the laws to protect same-sex unions. The House voted shortly. We're in the middle of the live vote at the Capitol, and many expect that the law will pass in the House of Representatives, but it may stall in the Senate. And while we don't have the final vote, we do make mention that the news this afternoon that complicates the vote on gay marriage is complicated because 17 mostly female congresswomen have been arrested this afternoon in protest at the Supreme Court. So it's delayed the entire day of legislative session, and it's likely going to go late into the night. Of course, we're going to report on the outcome, which is likely going to be passage in the House. So what do we think about the gay protection law that the House is considering?
Well, I think we, have realized we can't let the Supreme Court protect us from all of our rights, and that there is a majority of Americans that do support marriage equality and same-sex marriage. And so we have the majority of America supporting it, then our Congress people should be doing what the majority of voters have actually asked them to do.
I'm curious for all of you. We've been talking about this today in production, watching what is painfully slow going on today in Washington. It's interesting. CJ was barely alive in 2015 when Obergefell came down. When that announcement took place, right prior to the Stonewall anniversary, it was national and international news. The White House lit up in rainbow colors. The Eiffel Tower was in rainbow colors. It brought really a large portion of the world to a stop. Today, the House is going to, in this vote, as it's going on, vote to codify gay marriage into law. And the Senate's going to take it up. And the only question in the Senate is whether we can get 10 votes among the Republicans. But it's interesting to me that today there's almost no discussion about it. There's no, it's not the same kind of reaction that we had on the Supreme Court 5-4 decision in 2015. Why is that? What have we become so blasé in our community that it's like, what's the big deal?
Well, we have talked about complacency before, and that's death. I mean, if you just get comfortable, then they can pull the rug out from under you.
And that's exactly what's happening to us now.
It's already happened with Roe v. Wade. We have to protect our fundamental rights. And I was 11, by the way. 11. I was alive.
All right, just barely. But I'm curious to the point of my question. If this was 2012 today, if this was 2012, this would be the #1 story in the world. And today, it's like, oh, wait, the House hasn't voted yet? Wait, the House is voting? What are they voting on?
Well, I mean, I think if you're saying from the world, I think it's very confusing to understand what's happening in America. We've passed these, progressive things in the courts, and now we're seeing them being unwound, and we're usually seen as a bastion for progress and for democracy, and we're really seeing democracy taken away because, again, the majority of voters do support Roe v. Wade. They do support same-sex marriage. So I think it's confusing, honestly.
Yeah, we're showing a slide. One of the big effects of this bill is the repeal of DOMA, and the other thing, in case you're not really clear about what happens, is this is a defensive law. It tries to steer clear of states' rights issues because they know what a Clarence Thomas would do with that. So what this is saying is we're codifying in law that if a state recognizes gay marriage, it must be recognized by every other state. No state can eliminate the recognition of the gay marriage if a state has done that. Now, of course, that means New York and California will never get rid of gay marriage, and Alabama and Kentucky and Iowa, Texas, maybe Florida, we don't know, can't not recognize gay marriage, which for all intents and purposes pulls all the teeth out of the culture war of marriage. It's going to, when this vote that is going on takes place, is going to pass. It's going to be interesting to see how many Republicans in the House vote no, because they are going to have to specifically crawl out on that limb and publicly say, I think state rights are more important. That is a dangerous slope for them, because at the end of the day, and the same issue in the Senate, okay, let's grant that argument for a moment. I vote to allow states to decide whether black people can vote in America, or whether a black man can marry a white woman in America, because those issues were all federal constitutional issues. States historically have not done a great job on civil rights. That's why we had a civil war. So what are the Democrats, when they do this in the House, and they're going to, even Manchin is going to vote for this, when they get the 50 votes to the needed next 10 from the Republicans, what are the Republicans going to say in the Senate? What do you think?
Well, we know what Ted Cruz is going to do, because he's been all over TV just talking about it.
Actually, I'm going to ask this question again, but I want to zero in on that final slide that we have for you. And I'll just read it specifically. This week, Texas Senator Ted Cruz said that enshrining same-sex marriage by the Supreme Court was clearly wrong, and something must be done about it.
Didn't he also say something about the fact that same-sex marriage was not a constitutional right? Like you said earlier, so many of the federal laws that have given more equality in this country are not a part of the Constitution. The rights of women, the rights of people of color, the right to marry across racial lines. That is because of federal. That is the Supreme Court doing. That is federal ruling. And if you're really going to back all of that up and say, oh, no, it's states' rights, this is what we're going to do now, we're taking all of this away, then what's, like you said, what's next? What's going to happen next? Am I going to become not even a third-class citizen in this state or in this country? Am I going to become a 10th-class citizen because I'm a woman, I'm queer, and I'm black? What's going to happen?
Strike one. Strike two.
Strike three.
Right. You're going to hop from state to state, and you're not going to have your rights.
I honestly, I don't understand. It's the Senate vote, the debate, and the vote is going to be fascinating, because in your situation, if you decided you're in Alabama and you decide that you're going to marry Jeff Oliverio. Now, why that combination would never happen?
Because we're fabulous and adore you.
You're fabulous. Okay, we'll live in that world for a moment. But if you made that decision to do that, the state of Alabama, if they could return to what the Supreme Court said, George McGovern, you can't do this on the steps of the Capitol building to prevent separate but equal education in Alabama. It was not until 1967 that you deciding that you want to have a relationship with Jeff Oliverio was even legal. And that was the Supreme Court that said, sorry, Alabama doesn't get to make that decision. This is a constitutional 14th Amendment right. Now, 40 Republicans in the Senate are going to have to say, no, that decision wasn't right. The state should be allowed to do it. How are they
But if they say that, they're taking away their own power.
Well, there's the question. The genius of the Pelosi-Schumer death pill, swallow the death pill here, is it's going to force them out to say that. Because they want to hide in this and go, the courts can decide, because they know what the courts will decide. Clarence Thomas has already told us. He telegraphed us.
And his own marriage. Of course, that's probably easier. She probably won't let him divorce her. So this way, if you make his marriage illegal, you can get away from Ginny the Pooh. I mean, she's just vile.
Right. Yeah. Well,
yeas are 267, and the nays are 157. The bill is passed.
But we're going to move on, folks. Next is time to queer up South Florida and Florida. Florida teen Don't Say Gay graduation speech speaks at Education Department. Queer News Tonight previously reported on Zander Moricz of Pineview School in Osprey, Florida. A president of his class, he was expected to make a speech at his high school graduation. The school told him he could not reference his being gay, so instead he spoke about his curly hair. Recently, he got to deliver his original speech in front of the U.S. Department of Education. On Friday, Education Secretary Miguel Cardona tweeted, quote, Zander Moricz wasn't allowed to deliver the original valedictorian speech he wrote for his Florida high school graduation because it included references to his LGBTQI plus activism. So I invited him to deliver it at the U.S. Department of Education. When students speak, we must listen.
In my positions, I am asked, what can be done to help the children of Florida? The answer, listen. Listen to the students and respect what they say enough to act on it. Respect our warnings enough to mobilize around them.
Who loves his curly hair?
He's
Fabulous.
Adorbs, for sure. But boy, that's the thing. Listen to the students and protect what they say enough to act on it. Those are words to live by. Listen to the students. The future, seriously.
Exactly.
I've had the honor to meet him, and he is such an inspiration. But my big question is, what happened to Tinker v. Des Moines when we have our right to free speech in our schools? What happened to that ruling when this school said that you couldn't talk about being gay?
Well, see, essentially, schools are going on the preemptive defense that we don't want radical parents to sue us. So we're trying to represent in every possible way the following of the Don't Say Gay intent of the laws. It doesn't apply. It did not apply to Pineview School. That was an individual decision of the principal of Pineview School, which, by the way, I remind everybody, is shocking to me because in Sarasota County, it's a public school, but it is a magnet, high academic magnet school. USA Today rates the top 1,000 high schools in America, and over the last 20 years, Pineview has regularly been pulled out of USA Today's top 1,000 schools as being so good we can't rate it. It's one of the 3 or 4 best public high schools in America, which of course, what does that mean? It means very wealthy public school students and very intellectual, elite, progressive blue students. And Pineview does this. That was a decision by the principal. He violates free speech in anticipation that he feels like he needs to. Ridiculous, but that's why he did it. I'll give you a little heads up if you're interested. You've had the pleasure of meeting him. I have not. He will be here in Fort Lauderdale on Saturday. And he is participating in a panel with the Florida LGBTQ Democratic Caucus. And we're going to get to talk to him, so you'll get to see it next week. I want to take an opportunity. We have a couple of slides in terms of words that he said. I just think they're powerful. On Don't Say Gay, Zander said, the answer is to listen. Listen to the students and respect what they say enough to act on it, respect our warnings enough to mobilize around them, and respect our, to please respect enough to vote upon our warnings. He goes on to say in Washington, I am the first openly gay class president in my school's history, and repeats the phrase that he said in his speech, the censorship seems to show that they want me to be the last. Powerful.
So
Very
powerful.
Yeah, very well spoken.
Powerful, powerful.
I just think it's sad that we're at a place where this has to even be discussed. And you know, what lesson are we teaching about sharing your voice and sharing your true identity? You know, the mental health issues that kids face, and this young man seems to be so positive and well-spoken, and educated, and has a great future in front of him. And what kind of, you know, mental health, are we putting upon these kids to be like, please don't be yourself? I mean, it's
terrible
vile.
message.
It's vile.
And to that point, CJ, I want to ask you. You have leadership in PRISM, Florida. It's a youth student-led 501c3. The organization's voice came out so clearly in 2022 in response to what Governor DeSantis and initially Disney's lack of support. PRISM has really been at the forefront. Now it's all settled and done. Don't Say Gay has been implemented. We're seeing the chill of Don't Say Gay, because remember, the law says it's only K through 3rd grade. But we are watching Tallahassee, we're watching Leon County, we're watching all of the trickle chill that we knew was coming because of the vagueness in the laws. People of your age, you've just graduated from high school. Yes. Are y'all still front and center that you have hope that something can be done? Are you in partial surrender? Have you quit? What's going on?
We're not going to back down. Yes, we have been attacked, but no, we're not going to back down. We're going to let our voices be heard. While the law is going to go into effect already for this next school year, I think we're still going to fight. We're still going to make sure our voices are heard.
I love that.
Especially as we now have the right to vote, and this is a midterm year.
Yes.
So I thought about that. You get to vote this year.
I do get to vote.
Now we need about 140,000 more of you, and we're golden. We're golden.
They're out there.
But I think it's going to happen to the point that you were asking of, what are they going to get out of this? How are youth going to react? I really think that, like CJ, we're going to see a resurgence of young people that are very much more political, that are out there, they're on the front lines. They may not be able to use their voice in the way they want to, but they will find a way to make it happen. They are going to fight against it. It's going to be amazing.
Our voices may have been silenced in schools, but who's going to silence us now?
Exactly.
Nobody.
It's interesting because they were just talking about the profile, and to bring up a very dark subject, but of the Parkland shooter, about his mental, and the signs that were there. And what we're focusing on is not letting kids say that they're gay in a valedictorian speech. Right. But we're not focusing on the kids that are disaffected, that are outsiders of our society, that have mental health issues. That's being just swept under the rug. And that's really the sad part of this, I think.
Especially for people who claim to be concerned about the kids.
Yes.
But
these
that's
parents that are
always happens. If it's with Don't Say Gay, we don't want the kids to be talking about being gay. Well, we also have the higher rates of suicidality, depression, and anxiety. But then when you also talk about things like, oh, we don't want to talk about the race issue that's going on, then we have more hate coming out. Anytime there is something that it's, oh, we don't want to talk about it, we're trying to censor you, there's that flip side to it each and every time.
At the end of the day, we're going to go on in a moment to something a little more fun. But at the end of the day, no modern society, political society, has ever been able to hold the voice of the population down. They have been able to enslave voice of population for a period of time. And that period of time could be years, it could be decades. China's still in the process at 80 years of being able to do it. Russia could not do it. The Soviet Union collapses because of it. The empire, fascism in Germany collapses. Mussolini collapses. Even the Roman Empire with Caesar, they eventually collapse because you cannot hold human spirit down forever. All of human history has proven that. It's just a question of how long it is before the people that are being oppressed stand up and say no more. That's the question we don't know.
No empire has lasted so long, and the U.S.'s time might be up soon.
Well, let me fix my wig and let's queer up drag culture. Let's untuck the latest on secret celebrity RuPaul's Drag Race. As RuPaul once said, drag is not a contact sport. It's also not an amateur sport, but with a support team in place, even the most sheltered of individuals can pull up a good show. That's the concept behind RuPaul's secret celebrity drag race. In a format similar to The Masked Singer, celebrities will make drag transformations and then perform in lip-sync battles. The winner will move on, while the loser will be revealed. Season 2 premieres Friday, August 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern on VH1.
Friday, August 12th on VH1. See celebrities like you've never seen them before.
These celebrities are sitting on a secret.
It's RuPaul's Secret Celebrity Drag Race. 9 stars compete in the ultimate lip sync showdown.
Love this opportunity to go all in.
They'll undergo an unbelievable drag transformation while keeping their identities top secret.
People have always known who I am. I can't hide. This is a new discovery for me.
This is gonna shock the hell out of everybody.
These mystery queens will perform with everything they've got
You really gonna come out here and do all that like that?
to make it to the top.
Not exactly a boob man, but hello and hello.
Or face elimination.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
I hope that I'm not going home.
And show their face to the world.
The time has come.
I had no idea it was you.
Make way for the fiercest celebrity competition
Drag doesn't change who you are.
on television.
It reveals who you are. Who will be America's next celebrity drag race superstar?
RuPaul's Secret Celebrity Drag Race. New season Friday, August 12th at 8 on VH1.
Hey, it's Michelle Visage. Do you want gay
Okay.
Well, Michelle, hello.
Yeah, I'm going to get a phone call later. How dare you cut me off?
Well,
Does this look fun?
will world of wonder never cease? No, seriously, will they never cease?
Never gonna stop.
Child. Are you sure you're gay? Are you sure?
I just want to know how I never knew about the show. I did not know about this. This is the second season.
Well, and that's a good thing.
I want to watch the show.
That's a good thing because this is it's a reboot, fresh start.
Oh,
That's a good thing. Read between the lines, honey.
Yeah.
I'm not good at that. I'm not good at it.
I think I love the concept. I'm a huge Masked Singer fan, Secret. So I want to see how they're going to reveal because they're not wearing a mask. I'm assuming it's going to be like lashes off, wig off, you know.
Just a towel and
Yeah,
baby
we're
little
putting up
hat.
right now. We're showing you of course, there's the judges: Michelle, Carson, Ross, Mama Ru.
Got all the team back.
You know,
together.
one of the things in the tease that stands out above everything else. Did you notice the set? It's not the set. It's all completely fresh and new. They've spent a lot more money. That's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
It's a good sign because, you know, RuPaul's Drag Race, which has just been nominated for 174 Emmys. I'm joking, but a lot of Emmys.
I like that.
It's the runway and the stage and the workroom. That's not what you're seeing here. You're seeing
It looks like a Masked Singer stage.
big
which is a
production.
very big production.
Exactly.
And do you think Rudy Giuliani will be one? Because he was on Masked
If he's
Singer.
on there,
He was on Masked Singer.
No.
No, he
Someone
can't
drags
because,
him in a race.
because the makeup would run.
We're not doing
You know, right. And also the mentoring, they're called the Queen Supremes, nod to American Horror Story Coven.
Yes!
Supremes, we're showing that to you right there, Brooklyn Heights and Jujubee, and look at all of the names that are participating. Lots of Drag Race legends. And a lot of people don't realize the people that are doing this, they're not making money. This is a celebrity event, so it's for charity. The winner of the competition, they donate a $100,000 prize to their favorite charity.
Let's hope someone picks Prism or Happening Out.
Yeah.
Hey.
I think it looks like it's just going to absolutely be fabulous. I'm excited. Is everybody watching All Stars?
No.
I haven't caught up because I've been traveling. But yes, I've seen a few clips.
You know, a little tear goes down my cheek right now. I'm just saying. Well, All Stars is
great.
It is amazing. It's absolutely. You know, it's season 47. I don't know if you'll know that. It's been on for 47 years. This year is the best year ever, and I can say that in all seriousness. I'm not earning $1 in saying that.
It just feels like
someone slides a check.
Greg, you're taunting the mafia. You could end up in some canal here in South Florida.
Oh my God.
Wearing Submit Mary Janes, honey. Be careful.
That's right. Exactly.
I think it's important that these queens are doing this, especially here in Florida, where they're trying to ban kids from going to drag shows.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
But slay on, drag queens. Continue to do your thing.
Absolutely right. All right, CJ, let's talk about my friend Franklin Graham.
Let's queer up religion. Piers Morgan to Sinful Preacher. Why do you think it's Christian to stigmatize gay people? Infamous anti-LGBTQ plus preacher Franklin Graham recently appeared on Piers Morgan Uncensored for an interview while he is on a tour of the United Kingdom. During the interview, Morgan spoke to the popular evangelist about declining belief in God and the fall of popularity of organized religion in the U.S., and he suggested that the archaic view of the LGBTQ plus community by many churches could be why. At the end of their exchange, Morgan said, quote, "You're entitled to your views, but I think one of the reasons religion is becoming less popular is because young people look at senior figures like you and think, that doesn't sound very Christian to me. That sounds to me like somebody who is homophobic."
It's called God Loves You.
Yes.
Why do you think it's Christian to stigmatize gay people?
Well, I don't stigmatize them.
Well, you say that they're sinners.
We're all sinners. You and me.
But you know that those comments have gone down very badly. You've had tour dates before have had to be cancelled because of protests and so on. I believe in free speech. You're perfectly entitled to your views, and I understand they're driven by religious conviction. But are your views about homosexuals, are they changing at all?
No, I mean, the fact is God loves the homosexual people. He loves all of us. But if we come to God, we have to repent.
Do you love homosexual people?
Sure. And I love them enough to want to warn them and tell them the truth.
Why are they more sinful than you?
They're not more sinful.
What about their sexuality?
What I'm saying, they're not more sinful than me or you. The point is, all of us are born into sin, Piers. You were born into sin. Your mother, when she brought you into this world, she brought you in a sinful world. And Christ came to take our sins, and he died on that cross for our sins. And for us to be forgiven, we have to come to God and turn from our sin.
A man like me having sex with my wife, and we're both straight people, that is not sinful, right?
No, God designed marriage between a man and a woman.
But if I was gay and having sex with a man, you would think that's sinful.
It's not that I would think that. That's what God calls it. God made us male and female. And he designed sex to be between a man and a woman, and not between two women or not two men. That's the way God made us and created us, and it's just the way it is.
What if they're gay and they feel that they want to have sex with people like them?
Well, I'm just saying, the Bible calls it sin, and I care enough about.
You can't keep hiding by the Bible. It's you as well call it sin, right?
Well,
my point is, I know lots of gay people who are far less sinful in my estimation than lots of straight people I know.
Sure.
And I don't understand why I should be free and you should be free to have sex with who we like, but gay people can't.
No, you don't have sex with whoever you like. It's between a marriage relationship between a man and a woman, and that's the way God designed it.
You know what's a sin is that he's allowed to wear a lavender tie. That's a sin.
Someone better hold me back from that.
Really? Why is that?
Because if it's sinful to be gay, why is it not sinful to attack others and make them feel like they're lesser? Well, how is it not sinful to make people feel so bad that they would want to kill themselves as LGBTQ plus suicide rates are only rising?
How is it not sinful to judge? If I'm not mistaken, it says, judge, least you not be judged, or something along those lines. Like, we can't judge. Don't throw stones from glass houses. And the Bible preaches compassion. All of
Love
that
thy neighbor.
Yes, all of that was just circular logic of, oh, I love gay people, but because they're gay, because they are in these type of relationships, they're against God. And for whatever reason, that's making them not want to be a part of the church. It's no. I know many gays.
There was an exchange in this interview. We want to show you a slide of it, an exchange between Morgan and Graham. It's slide 2 to production. Morgan says, the Bible says all sorts of things that we don't do now. The Bible has stuff in it that would be absurd today. Graham's reply, no, I believe the Bible to be the Word of God, meaning literal interpretation. Morgan says, so should we still be stoning people in the street? Would we do that? Would you allow adulterers to be stoned in the street? And Graham has no reply to him. He's a literalist until he can no longer defend literalism. And so that's
amazing how the Constitution and the Bible get used as weapons. Except we don't want to pay attention to the parts that don't support our argument.
Let's pick and choose which parts we want to follow.
I want to give a shout out. I mean, Piers Morgan. I'm glad to see this.
Yes, because he's not known.
I was like,
well, you know, he was quasi-canceled in some, but he gave a platform to this person, which a lot of our maybe news organizations or mainstream wouldn't have given him that platform. And it's good because you can see that his argument goes nowhere. His goes nowhere. So I applaud Piers Morgan for actually having him on as a guest and showing how flimsy his article is. His argument
is saying that, oh, I believe every word of the Bible. Number one, the Bible was not written by God. Let's just put it out there right there.
Exactly.
It was written by mortal men who believe in God.
And it's been altered several times.
And it's been altered several times. There are many different versions of it. Some specific religions pick and choose which parts that they want to use. That's why we have so many different sects of Christianity. And if we want to bring that back to the Constitution was also written by mortal men. And let's not forget, it was written how many years ago? On both ends, times have changed, society has changed. That is why we have new laws. We don't stone people anymore for a reason. We realize it is bad.
You know, and I always get disappointed when I participate in a conversation like this, whether it be in the news or among friends. And the reason is because I always feel like I have to defend my faith. I have faith. I go to church. I have had faith for in and out my whole life. This is illegitimate, and to have to defend Franklin Graham is not to defend someone's faith, because this person is making the assumption that is the mortal Achilles heel for me. When you speak in absolutes that this is what this was written for 2,000 years ago, you are speaking in an absolute that is impossible. It is just literally impossible. It's a guidance. It is a starting point. It is a moral compass for you to say, this is what I believe in terms of where I get to be a better person. Many to most people feel that way, except 78% acceptance in America of gay marriage in America is that exact same philosophy. He is, even in evangelicals, we command majority acceptance of gay marriage, even among evangelicals. He is one of these groups like Liberty University and Jerry Falwell that are holding on to an absolute that is undefendable. And that's what Piers Morgan calls him out on. This is why he broadly says religion, but he doesn't mean religion. He is talking about his religion. I want to read
his interpretation.
I want to read how Piers Morgan closes to Reverend Graham. Piers Morgan says to Franklin Graham, "You're entitled to your views, but I think one of the reasons religion is becoming less popular is because young people look at senior figures like you," he's calling him an old man, "and think, that doesn't sound very Christian to me. That sounds like somebody who is just simply homophobic."
It does.
True.
Man.
But
he nailed it.
He nailed it.
Really did, for sure.
But it's so important to note that homosexuality is not a choice. We're not a liberal agenda. It's natural. Homosexuality occurs in animals.
Exactly. It is in nature.
I was thinking that exact point when he said it was God's design. Excuse me, God had lots of designs. Where did he go wrong with 100 different species in the world that they've proved are homosexual and have exceptions in every species? And who whispered in your ear from God saying, this is what I want to do? You know, it's Piers Morgan. It was an interesting interview.
Definitely. And now we're going to queer up the worldview. Details on terrorist leader planned attack on Sydney Mardi Gras. Yesterday, Hamdi Al-Qudsi appeared before the Supreme Court of New South Wales in Australia on charges of directing an international terrorist organization with plans to carry out an attack. He allegedly formed a group called the Shura, which means Consultation Council in Arabic, to travel to Syria and fight against the government there. When police stopped the plans, he decided to turn to events in his home of Australia. The group allegedly planned to attack several different locations, including the Woolloomooloo Naval Base, the Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, the Sydney Israeli Embassy, and other tourist locations in the city. The trial is ongoing, and Al-Qudsi has pled not guilty. They're coming from all sides. It just feels, I feel like we're under attack from all sides.
We are.
And it's, I know that it's a shared feeling, but when is it going to end? That's I keep hoping for this just to all, I don't know, they realize they've made a mistake somehow.
I'm going to pull out my whole pessimist side. I'm not even going to be optimistic. It is never going to stop. And that is because you can say it stopped. Like people say, oh, racism is over. It's not over. It is never going to be 100% over. We evolve as people, and so do society and things like that. So it makes it seem as if it's not there anymore. It's still there. It is still blatant, and it is overt, but it is also covert at the same time. So regardless, we're always going to have this happening. It's going to be, oh, we have so many things that are better now, but you're still going to have the haters and the crazy people who are out here that are planning terrorist attacks against just people having a good time.
You know, a perfect example to that point, all we have to do is look in our own backyards in the big categories of marginalized community. If you are Latino, when I came down to do It's Happening Out in September, it'll be 4 years ago that I came down to do that show. When I lived in Sarasota on the West Coast, the Latino embracement in the West Coast communities compared to South Florida, there's no comparison. The Latino community could not have the presence like they do here in South Florida in many of the Central West Coast communities. 3 hours away, and it's a completely different world for Latinos. Here in South Florida, I would assume that we would say above average in terms of our embracement of Black community. And you can go 4 hours away north to Ocala, and it would be a completely different experience in terms of how the Black community is accepted in Ocala, Marion County, as opposed to Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. Then in LGBT, we're living and working and playing in one of the most LGBT-friendly communities in the entire world, not just the United States, the entire world. But if you move up this same coast to Jacksonville, Duval County, it is like a completely different place. They make the joke that Jacksonville, Duval County is southern Georgia for a reason. So to your point, even in those principal marginalized communities, gay, Latino, Black, even in our own state, depending on where you live, it can be completely different of how you're accepted and treated. And that's the problem.
We're in a bubble. South Florida is in a bubble.
For sure.
But I have to, I think, Sobourney, you're correct. People that are always looking for a villain and looking for a reason to blame for whether their life isn't going a certain way or something has happened to them. They're looking for someone that, oh, that gay person took my job, or that Black person took my, did this. And we're always looking for someone to make a villain. And, we have to realize that energy is always going to be there. And, sharing our stories, which we do here, is really important, because when people start knowing who you are and what you're about, you're not a category, you're Sobourney. And it's very different.
But that works with the whole way the monkeypox issue is being dealt with, and the meningitis. They're making this into like a gay disease. It feels like the 80s. It feels like there's it's wrong. It's completely wrong, and yet they found another scapegoat. And why not? Kick us. We're already down. Just kick us more.
That's the creation of culture war. One of the things I was concerned when in following this is, first, it's important news. We have a slide about it. This charging is the first case in the world to be charged with intentionally directing a terrorist organization which was preparing to carry out an attack on an LGBTQ target. And that's one of the reasons why we paid attention to it. I was concerned as I learned of the news, and then I followed the start of the prosecution, that this would be viewed as anti-Muslim or anti-Islamic. It is not. It is an aberration of ignorance in that community, not the entire community.
Not all Muslims are terrorists. Not all gay people are pedophiles. And we'll get into that shortly.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that is important in this story. All right. Well, finally, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. And this is breaking news that we're breaking this evening on Queer News Tonight. Hate crime signs against Fort Lauderdale's Sunshine Cathedral creates caution in the LGBTQ plus community. On last Saturday night, July 16th, signs were posted on walls at the world's largest queer church, Sunshine Cathedral, here in Fort Lauderdale. The signs were removed early Sunday morning and disposed of by a supporter of the church. We are announcing this news now. The signs were not fully disclosed until yesterday after the church supporter removed them from the trash to bring them to church administration just yesterday. Senior Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin said that, quote, Sunday services would have gone into lockdown if we would have been aware of the signs and messages Sunday morning, end quote. It appears the currently unknown individual intended for the messages to be seen by LGBTQ plus members of the church as they arrived for Sunday services. One of the signs was placed on a wall where the Happening Out television network studios is located at Sunshine Cathedral Square. We are literally broadcasting just feet from that location. Happening Out broadcasted the 10:30 a.m. Sunday service live to thousands of viewers, and the handwritten posters had many rambling and disjointed messages, including referencing pedophiles and sex crimes. One of the signs mentions QAnon discredited conspiracy theory Pizzagate, a bizarre claim against presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. One message promotes pedoempire.org, an extreme alt-right website that says that the gay community is behind the normalization of making pedophilia of children the norm in American society. A separate rant is connecting COVID-19 and rage against wearing masks and Dr. Anthony Fauci as part of an LGBTQ plus satanic plot. In the days leading up to last month's June Pride Month, President Joe Biden warned us of, quote, rising hate and violence, end quote, against the LGBTQ community amid a recent uptick in charged rhetoric around LGBTQ plus issues across the country. The president issued the warning on the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. It commemorates 1990 when the World Health Organization declassified homosexuality as a mental disorder. Biden said, quote, since that time, there has been much progress, but we continue to witness disturbing setbacks and rising hate and violence against targeting LGBTQIA plus people in the United States and around the world. This is wrong, end quote. In recent months, conservative lawmakers, television pundits, and other public figures have accused opponents of the newly enacted Florida education legislation, dubbed the Don't Say Gay law, of trying to groom or indoctrinate children. The word grooming has long been associated with mischaracterizing LGBTQ people, particularly gay men and transgender women, as child sex abusers. It seems this was at the heart of the rambling messages of attack on Sunshine Cathedral. As the rhetoric surrounding LGBTQ issues has become more charged, several LGBTQ safe spaces and celebrations have also been targeted with threats or acts of violence. The Southern Poverty Law Center says that, quote, groups that vilify the LGBTQ plus community, in fact, represent the fastest growing sector among hate groups, end quote. Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin told Queer News Tonight today that this is just one of many threats that have been made against the world's largest queer church. He said, quote, it no longer shocks me, but it still shocks me, end quote. There are security cameras at Sunshine Cathedral, and more information on the perpetrator may be coming. In the meantime, Griffin said, quote, nothing will prevent Sunshine Cathedral from being a welcoming place and to serve everyone in our community. Nothing, end quote. Queer News Tonight will continue to follow this story. Shocked?
Of course, the first thing I think is this a lone wolf? Is this just one person on his own in his mom's basement making posters for fun, arts and crafts? Or is this person connected to a larger group of people? And that's, whether it's one person or a large group, it's frightening nevertheless.
Well, I can tell you in terms of our reporting that all of the bizarre signs and ramblings of what you see, it's like an unhinged mind and 50 messages but they're all connected back to organized alt-right hate against the LGBTQ community. Masks are satanic, and they violate your rights, and they're trying to take your rights away. And if you would have somebody sitting in front of you, that would get them to, that's why they're trying to take your guns away. Wait, the mask has something to do with guns? Well, yes, of course it does. And that's why you're a pedophile and you're trying to groom our children. And so it is organized, because even if a lone wolf, he is following the organized messaging of the rhetoric.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's frightening.
And I think that they're, as we said, maybe whether they're connected to a certain person, they're disaffected, and they're connected by these crazy alt-right websites that give them a voice to share all of the hate and the conspiracy theories, and again, to turn us into villains, and to continue to publish this type of information that's out there on the internet.
Yeah. All right, I'm curious of any of the four of you. Sobourney, you worked here. You used to work upstairs. We're sitting on the campus at Sunshine Cathedral. I believe we showed some pictures. Perhaps we can show them again. Cathedral Square, which is where we're broadcasting, you're looking at one of the walls at Happening Out Television Network, has just undergone an incredible art installation. It is very clear what this community is all about when you look at these walls. Quite beautiful in terms of its LGBTQ embracement. But this is a new phenomenon. So it's interesting in that the defacing of all of the signs that were posted were on these buildings, not the main cathedral. Almost like that they didn't understand that the main white cathedral, which you're looking at there, was not defaced, but the rainbow walls were defaced. That seems strange.
Well, maybe it also might be out of respect for a religious building, a religious facility. They didn't want to do that. But
well, let's hope that that's true. But that's hard for me to believe. When you read that pedo website, there's not much heart going on there. So,
and I'm holding my tongue right now, but I gotta let it loose. I've worked in this building for years. Something like this has never happened. And the fact that it can is very unsettling when we think of all of the different communities, all the different LGBT organizations that have set foot here. And it frightens me because I've been in my office and people would just walk in the door. This adds that layer of like, I don't feel as protected. It brings back to what happened with Pulse and how that's only 3-4 hours away from us here in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. That's in Orlando. And the fact that not too long after that, we also had the Stonewall Pride Parade that same year, just a few days after that happened. And in the community, it's like, okay, we have to take part. We're still gonna celebrate. But it's frightening to see that. And it's frightening because it's like, that takes away a layer of safety. Pulse, just nightclubs in general, is a place where the LGBT community can come together and find community and have a good time. And that was taken away from us with Pulse, but we still said, you know what, you're not gonna do that. And now you're coming to a church that is so affirming, that helps other organizations provide life-saving services. Yes, and has so much
children,
programming.
Seniors, HIV, food.
Yes.
Recovery.
Everything.
It's amazing what happens at Sunshine.
And they're doing this here. They're taking away this safe haven for not just the LGBT community, but for so many other people. I would feel uncomfortable coming here after hearing this as a queer person, because then it's like, okay, let's be honest. Yes, they didn't deface the church itself, but that's not to say that something couldn't happen in a church. We have seen what a vigilante will do within a church under whatever pretext that they want to put it under, whatever reasoning, and they will hurt people.
You know, for me,
that
and I understand exactly what you're saying. You worked with a youth program here at Sunshine. Reverend Dr. Griffin's comments, I think, are the right sentiment, which is, you can't bully us and you can't scare us. They'll take the right precautions. They'll respond in the right way. But I think the message from Sunshine is powerful, which is this is a community that stands up. And you might push us down. interesting that it is cowardly done in the middle of the night. Who's going to be here in the middle of a Saturday night? It was cowardly to have this kind of messaging, in my opinion, to be seen when 72-year-old Mildred is coming to Sunday service at the queer church. And those are the kinds of signs that 72-year-old Mildred is going to see. I think their response is very motivational to me, which is the church stands for the community, and they'll continue to stand for the community. And for me, that helps deal with the feeling that you.
No one Robert's here helps.
Well,
He's not going to play.
I want to. I do
Right.
think that the display of a rainbow symbol on the building. We've seen this in Delray Beach when they did the Rainbow Square and someone defaced it.
Yeah.
You know, there was a news story with our the gentleman who's running for senator in Georgia, our Herschel Walker's son, going into I believe a Starbucks and having a little bit of a baby meltdown. That there was still a pride flag up, and he's an American. So the attack on the rainbow symbol is a direct attack, and it's happening in all different facets. And it's happening here at Sunshine, and hopefully that was the extent of it. But it is happening in different pockets because they're being given a voice.
I'm curious. One last question before we end our breaking news here. What's happened at Sunshine? Does it surprise you that you reference Pulse? I have close feelings on Pulse. Somebody walked into Gym Bar on Walden Drive with a gun, and we're approaching the midterms. And I just remind everybody, in the 2020 election here in Wilton Manors, the gayest place on planet Earth, as the joke we make, of all of the Trump trucks that came into the Wilton shops and honking and yelling and screaming. Do you think, sitting here in mid-July and this event that happened in mid-July, that this is something that we're going to see escalate over the next months because the midterms are coming?
Probably desperate.
Yeah.
But even though we might be scared, it's important that to remember that the basis of pride is it being a protest. We have to stand strong.
Stand strong, yeah. Well, we are certainly going to, at Queer News Tonight, do that. And in fact, we embrace Sunshine Cathedral, and we're going to show you how right now.
Yeah, so next we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m. with more than 30,000 watching every week.
I'm Kiara Johnson, the Executive Director of the National LGBTQ Task Force. And as one of the most important civil rights organizations, I know the value of the support that comes from all corners of our community. That's why Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Could not have any more of a powerful endorsement than that. Well, that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, in Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Sobourney Barnes, Jeff Oliverio, Gregg Shapiro, and CJ Walden, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you
good
night.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus